filling sandbags, loading them onto the rail cart, sending them back to the shaft. The cage goes up, the bags get stacked in the warehouse or loaded onto trucks marked as construction debris. Nobody outside asks questions. In Otay Mesa, jackhammers and forklifts are background noise. You could detonate a small explosive, and the neighbors would assume someone dropped a pallet. The soil here is perfect. Volcanic ash compressed into clay over millennia. Cohesive enough to hold its shape without reinforcement in most sections. Soft enough to carve with hand tools. Predictable. 2 miles west, and it turns to sand that collapses if you look at it wrong. East toward the mountains, the substrate hardens into rock that eats drill bits for breakfast. But here, in this strip of industrial borderland, the earth cooperates. You almost admire it. The geology of complicity. Months pass. The tunnel grows. 1,300 feet, 1,800, 2,000. You install the fluorescent lighting, one fixture every 10 feet, high voltage cables running the length. You bolt the rail tracks to the poured concrete floor. You oversee the hydraulic door installation at the entrance, hidden behind a false wall that slides on steel runners. On the American side, another warehouse, another hole, another cage. The tunnel is a throat connecting two countries, and you built its vocal cords. You hear things you're not supposed to hear. A phone call between the overseer and someone higher. Packages labeled with Burberry logos and cartoon characters. Not branding. Accounting codes. A shipment schedule that implies tonnage you can't quite believe. And one night, a conversation in the corner of the warehouse that freezes your blood. When it's done, take them out back. They're not talking about equipment. The tunnel breaks through on a Tuesday, the American side, Otay Mesa. The first test run sends an empty cart rattling through on the rails, and it arrives on the other side in under 4 minutes. Everyone cheers except the 17 men who dug it. They stand in a cluster near the shaft, covered in clay dust, blinking under the warehouse lights, like men pulled from a mine collapse. They were promised passage north. They were promised payment. They look at you because you're the one with the hard hat and the clipboard, the one who gave orders that weren't threats. You look away. 3 days later, Mexican federal police raid the Tijuana warehouse. Someone talked. A rival cartel, a wiretap, a road that collapsed and exposed a section, it doesn't matter. The 17 men are arrested. They're put in vans. They're taken to La Mesa prison. And here is the part that breaks every assumption you've ever had about justice. They're the lucky ones. The crew from the tunnel before yours, 23 men in a warehouse outside Agua Prieta, were found in a mass grave 30 miles into the desert. The cartel doesn't pay severance. It pays silence. And silence has only one price. You escape. Not through the tunnel. Through a door, a truck, a highway, a flight to Paris, California, where your name on a green card says construction, and your neighbors think you remodel kitchens. You live in a suburban house with a 2-car garage. You drive to Home Depot on Saturdays. You watch your daughters do homework at the kitchen table. And 50 feet below the border, the tunnel you built moves product worth $300 million in 6 months before it's discovered by a task force that finds 2 per year out of dozens operating. The tunnel cost $2 million to build. You were paid well. The 17 men who dug it were paid $75 a week for 5 months. $1,500 total per man. The cartel made $300 million. That's not exploitation. That's a ratio so obscene it doesn't have a name in economics. It has a name in theology. It's called damnation. You're arrested in Zapopan in 2012, upscale suburb. They find you in a house near a racetrack you once owned. You're 49 years old. You have an architecture degree, 5 code names, and a career that built marvels of engineering that no one will ever admire. They put you in Altiplano prison, maximum security, the same wing where El Chapo sleeps. And 3 years later, when he escapes through a tunnel with arched ceilings, ventilation tubes, a motorcycle on rails, and fluorescent lighting every 10 feet, you recognize the design because it's yours. Somewhere in Guadalajara, a man in a polo shirt is sitting in a truck outside a construction site, watching a young architect with a degree he can't afford to use. The offer is generous. The project is long-term. The soil near the border is perfect, and the cycle doesn't end. It just digs deeper.